Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and this ChatGPT, this AI thing, has really caught the world by storm. It says, here's how ChatGPT is really impacting the future of work via whatever. Inside ChatGPT's breakout moment and the race to put AI to work. Now, I told you, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that Link2 had added Motive, which is an AI company, to their platform. But I mentioned to you that they had other ones. Link2 is also one of my sponsors. They had this Samba Nova and Cerebrus are both AI companies. So if you're interested in getting exposure to AI companies, Link2 has 3 of them on the platform right now. And the link to this is in the very top of the description of this video. Mac Attack says, if Ripple wins versus the SEC, the XRP price could more than double. Now, here's what I think after I saw what John Deaton said from that hearing. Basically, the gist of it was that the judge in that hearing got the SEC to admit that the judge, as well as the SEC, agreed with John Deaton that digital assets in the secondary market are not securities. I think in a worst case scenario, we're going to get because, and I think he said that in the Ripple case, they will actually issue a judgment on that issue, or it will come out of the Ripple case. Whereas this judge was just putting it on the record that he thought that, and getting the SEC to agree that that's the case as well. That's huge in itself, because that's more clarity than we've had in the United States for digital assets since it began, really, having it on the record by the SEC in court from a judge. That's about as good as we've gotten. Now, this article is written based on this Bill Morgan tweet. Shows what could happen to XRP if the case has a good outcome. I don't hold any, but I do like seeing this. This is Library had reacted by going up like 100%. Following those comments by the judge. Well, the way I think this thing unfolds, I think we're going to get a scramble of, I think we're probably going to get, in the Ripple case, we're going to get some combination of, if it doesn't settle, that is, and then that still comes down to the Hinman documents for me. But I think we're going to, if it's a judgment, we're going to get some combination, and it could be like 24, 25 combinations based on what Jeremy Hogan said, where you get, well, this, and this, that Ripple or Brad Garlinghouse or Chris Larson did back then was a security, those transactions. But XRP itself and the and secondary market sales are not securities. I think at a minimum you're going to get that, in which case in a short-term scenario you'll get like something similar to the Library. But in the mid to long term, you're going to get institutions that can now come in. You're going to get people that wouldn't invest before that would now, and all of a sudden the game will change, and the game will change. All of a sudden XRP will have the false, or it'll be real in XRP's case, but remember, Bitcoin and Ethereum have had this false sense of clarity for the last 3 years. Without that their prices don't do what they've done, and that's the fact, Jack. Now, moving along. Eleanor Terrett, ranking member Senator Tim Scott of the Senate Banking Committee, has released his legislative and oversight agenda, which includes developing a framework for crypto and reining in the Biden admin's use of federal agencies to advance a progressive agenda. Now, I was looking around and I found some recent clips from January of our old buddy Joseph Lubin, and these clips you got to watch. Any of you who followed ETHGATE as we broke it know that back then in 2018, after Joseph Lubin thought he got an Ethereum free pass, or he did, from Bill Hinman, he was a lot cockier than he is in this clip. Listen to the difference in Joseph Lubin. I didn't put him, you've seen enough videos of him when he was all cocky and And he was saying that his friends at the SEC, they're just doing their jobs. Well, listen to what he's saying now.
Let's talk regulation just for a moment. A lot of news recently on the regulatory front, I think some of which had people pretty alarmed. The SEC gets the lion's share of the attention and the headlines, but it's no longer just the SEC. I mean, the CFTC going after members of a DAO, and what does that mean for governance tokens? The SEC identifying basically, we think almost everything other than Bitcoin looks like a security. What do you make of the current environment, and should it be concerning to everyone in crypto, or is there reason for optimism?
So it's concerning in that there continues to be uncertainty. It's concerning in that the SEC has basically come to the conclusion that it's too early to write crisp rules. And instead of doing that, they will enforce or regulate by enforcement actions, so sort of punishing bad actors who colored very significantly outside lines that may not be so clear. I don't think it's really harmed innovation in the United States right now. I think the previous regime in the SEC and Gary Gensler's regime, they've brought down a bunch of projects that were fraudulent. They have punished some actors that were clearly selling things that looked like unregistered securities to Americans. And I think we would appreciate clearer rules, but I actually don't think America has been a bad place to be an innovative crypto blockchain company.
There's one thing there I'd push back on, and just
and if they make clear rules, look out, because the excitement, the energy, the money will go into the.
By the way, that's the reason Gary Gensler and all these government hacks have been holding this industry back. Make no mistake about it. They've been holding back the money so that their Wall Street buddies can get in and they can give it to them, because they know how much money's coming to this.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I push back on. You say there's no clear rules, there's no clarity. What I'm hearing some people say recently is, a different way of looking at it is there is clarity. It's just that we don't like the rules. And the clarity is, at least in the SEC's case, they're using the Howey test. It's from 1946. And those are the prongs.
Yeah, that is Gary's recent emphasis, it appears.
Yeah.
And so the Howey test, if rigorously applied, let's say the Howey test can still be subjective. If Gary and crew wants to cast a massive net and interpret the Howey test really broadly, then that could be problematic for more projects. Not all,
including yours. And then we've got a whistleblower alert. Remember, Gary Gensler went after BlockFi, after Nexo and threatened Coinbase Lend for interest and lending products. Okay. Well, here is Joseph Lubin talking about his plans.
We'll aggregate different protocols, enable people to just buy, pay, lend, earn, stake, etc. Simplicity.
Can't do that.
Higher level stuff.
Can't do that. That's a security, Joseph. That is a security because Gary told us it was. Why is he not suing Ethereum? And I don't want him to sue Ethereum, by the way. That's not the point. My point is you can't pick winners and losers. That is not what Gary's job is. Now, Alex Mashinsky from Celsius, see folks, remember, the FTX thing didn't just happen. What I truly believe is that FTX, I don't think it's a coincidence that FTX was working with the government. I don't think it's a coincidence that they were offshore. And I don't think it's a coincidence that now we're finding out that if you follow the money, FTX was behind collapsing, or this is what some of these guys are inferring, collapsing Luna and some of these other things, which just by coincidence would fall right into the hands of regulators so they could say, see, this stuff's dangerous. We need to regulate it. So let me put this together for you. The same guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, who these guys are now saying, if you follow the money, was behind making some of these things collapse. Same guy is meeting with Gary Gensler and all these guys that are wanting to crack down on crypto. What a coincidence, right? He says, Alex Mashinsky from Celsius says, follow the money and you will find who started the cascading runs on the crypto banks, destroyed several crypto projects and then themselves. It was all driven by the need to win, but also have others fail in the process. This is Coinbase exec believes Sam Bankman-Fried was behind the ETH DPEG that led to the implosion of Celsius 3AC. Then you've got this. Remember this from Gary?
According to your calendar, you met with now former CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, on March 29th of this year. Aside from that, had you met with him any other times? And what was your impression of him when you met with him?
Again, I'm not going to speak to anyone matters. I make, as my predecessors did as well, my calendar public. And
no, it's not completely public. It ends in August. So we're missing September, October, November, and December. Well, now January too. That's 5 months. And don't forget this. We've got that you scrubbed evidence of your meeting with that person who used to be married, who is married to a previous president, Soros, and lunatic whack job, very crazy Nancy Pelosi meeting. He scrubbed that from his public calendar, and then now it's added back. You know what this all reminds me of? Is those two parties who backed Sam Bankman-Fried anonymously, and the judge is now saying they're going to release the names, and David Schwartz says, prepare to be shocked. You know who else told us that we would be shocked, folks? You know, do you remember, does anybody remember who else said that we'll be shocked? Brad Garlinghouse said that we will be shocked when we see the Hinman emails. That's what that reminds me of for some reason. And then here's the FTX US president. This guy talks like somebody who really wasn't involved.
Problems around internal communication, around structuring the company for providing better governance, especially as we were growing larger, around hiring enough developers and other senior staff that we needed to be able to accomplish many of the goals that we were seeking to accomplish. And when I would try to bring up these kinds of criticisms internally at the company, they were never met well. And at some point, we truly weren't really speaking much to each other over the course of the last part of the time that I was there.
Now, you had mentioned these disputes were not just with Sam Bankman-Fried. You had mentioned these disputes were with other members of his staff, his deputies. Who else did you find those disputes with?
Yeah, they were primarily with Sam, but, I think many of the people around Sam really agreed with him on most of the internal decisions, especially around trying to kind of grow and separate the staff. There was very much sort of a separation between the group of people who were the executives in the Bahamas, sort of around them, living together, who were making those kinds of decisions, versus the people on the U.S. side who were, as I said, were systematically left out of many of those decisions.
He's throwing them overboard. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family, or ask your friends and family, is David Schwartz sending us a message here about being shocked? So we know that the SEC, this is what's going through my mind. We know the SEC was meeting with him. Then two anonymous parties are bailing him out. It wouldn't be anybody connected to the SEC that would be doing the bail, would it? Because Brad Garlinghouse used this same, I'm going to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure he used that same terminology when he said that when people find out about the Hinman emails, they'll be shocked at the SEC's behavior. Is this David Schwartz pointing to that? Thanks.